right, all set? Mm-hmm. Wait, how do I start this thing?
Welcome back to Timm Talk, the only podcast about the DC animated universe. Co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord, and I'm Cameron Dexter. And today we have a wonderful guest for you. You've heard him once before on the podcast. Twice before on the podcast.
Yeah.
Are you recording this?
I mean, it has been recording for a bit here. Well, all right, now we can actually get this thing going properly here. Welcome back to Timm Talk.
Just do whatever you want.
Welcome to another.
This is an improvised podcast. Do you want me to take over?
I'm so broken. No, I got this. Welcome to episode. Hang on, I got it now.
Jesus Christ, Chris.
Welcome to episode 114 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter. And
we have returning once again our good friend and big fan of Superman and, of course, Batman Beyond, Vasilios.
What's up, guys?
Welcome back.
Thanks. Thanks. It's a very comfortable couch.
Sorry, I can't let this go by. Chris, we've been doing this for 114 weeks, and yet somehow you still treat it like it's something so new and fresh.
I couldn't remember how to start.
That's fine. Welcome back, Vasilios.
It's sad, but it's also very nice and sweet.
Yeah,
Vasilios, you got a wonderful insight into what a shambolic production this is.
I don't know.
Every single week.
I don't know. This studio is just like top of the line.
Well, you can see our little Foley room where we add in all of our bird chirps, car noises,
cars, closing doors.
Yes.
Yes, all of the fantastic sounds of real Hollywood, folks.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a full staff here. Full staff.
Oh my god. Well, I'm glad we're starting off even messier than normal.
Somehow.
What I love too is last week, like to fuck with you, Cameron, I didn't say anything to see if you could roll with it, and now this week I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I just did the intro perfectly.
You did.
While texting somebody or typing something into his phone.
Yeah, Cameron, you're better at hosting this thing while you're not paying attention than I am when I'm like fully invested.
No, but that's not the story we've crafted for our listeners, Chris. I'm supposed to be the one that doesn't know what's going on. We can't pull back the curtain that far that I'm actually the one that leads everything.
Oh, that's true. I know. You're the I had a reference for this and it was gone. Fuck.
The sidekick?
No, there's there's a version of Sherlock Holmes where Watson's the real detective and Sherlock Holmes is like a facade. It's basically just a rep-off of Remington Steele, which is also a reference I could have used.
Yeah. Both I would have not ever known what you're talking about.
That's true. Cameron doesn't know anything beyond anime. Or animation, which is how I'm going to use a clunky-ass segue to talk about news this week, because there's a lot of animated news.
There is.
Cameron, where do you want to start with this? We have a long list.
Let's end with the one I'm most excited to talk about. So we'll start with Toy Story 4.
Oh, interesting. This is not a I know what you're most excited about.
I mean, obviously.
Okay, Vasilios, did you watch the Toy Story 4 trailer?
I did.
Did it make you cry?
No. Did it make you guys cry? Because every headline I saw online was like, the Toy Story creators want to make you cry if you watch this.
I mean, they do. They do. Like it. I'm not going to say that I cried because I'm more or less incapable of crying. But
was it you that made the argument that after WALL-E, Pixar stories went from being emotionally compelling to forcing emotion?
No, that was you, Cameron.
Yeah, that
Did
was.
I say that?
Yeah. That was.
I said something so prolific.
That
and
was
smart.
you quoting like a blogger. It was like a video blogger or someone who had this theory.
It was you quoting like a video
essay.
Me.
You took it like it was your own thing.
It was. And I thought Toy Story 3, which was great, was this a great example of that. I thought it was still a great example of that.
Yeah.
Trying to make you cry and not happening to make you cry.
Yeah.
And I thought this trailer is more of the same.
I think this movie is going to be interesting because I've had a lot of conversation with people about like where do you go for a Toy Story. Nailed it. And I had this idea of like DIY being part of it, of like how do you live in a society where technology's become so rampant, where DIY is becoming such a popular thing where you don't have to buy toys, you can make toys now. But I think showing the next step of like toys feel responsible for happiness I feel like that's such a fascinating, and it fits kind of the story of like where our generation is now. Because, you know, we have friends that are having kids now, and, you know, they feel responsible for the next kid's happiness. You know, it's not about them anymore. It's about someone else.
Sure.
And that's, yeah, exactly. Like, how dare you reproduce in a time like this? And I feel like that's what, you know, the Woody story is going to be this time. It's like, I've done my time with a kid, but it's still not over. Like, I'm still responsible for other kids' happiness, and how can I do that?
And you feel like this trailer leads in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, my read on it was him deciding to finally do something for himself for once.
Well, you're wrong.
No, it's like he's contemplating staying behind to be with Bo rather than going back to Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
That's about him maybe finally doing something for himself.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's kind of the conflict of interest.
Doesn't
he
almost do that in the last couple movies as well? He
It
does that with like
two-
Jesse, right? And then, or he thinks about it with Jesse and the horse, right? And then he thinks about
Bullseye.
Horse?
and
The horse?
Bullseye. And then I'm a huge Pixar fan. And in the third one, doesn't it like because it all seems like really good with the big fluffy bear in the third one?
Mm-hmm. The third one is they're all being donated.
Right.
And he wanted to stay with his friends. So he got in the box. No, he was trying to get everyone out of the box. Out of the box. Yeah.
What?
Clap
No,
on?
Don't know that song?
What?
It's a kid show.
Which kids show?
It's Out of the Box.
There's a show called Out of the Box?
It's an anime
pretty
kids
sure.
show.
When did this air?
I don't know.
Japan,
It's
Tokyo.
not. No, it's like a baby's show. Because it's not important.
How do you know about this show?
Because I'm a child.
You asked.
Yeah, the third one from memory serving is Andy puts all the kids in the donation box. Woody's
All the
trying to get
kids in the donation box?
all
Who are
the
they
toys
donating the
in the
kids
donation
to?
box for the children, for Sunnyside. And Woody's trying to get them
Oh, it's
out
gonna
when
be
he
a long
accidentally
one.
falls in.
Yes, it
It's
is.
gonna be a long one.
The trailer was great. What's next?
I mean, I one final thought in the Toy Story 4 trailer. I loved the use of Beach Boys. What's the name of the song? But like Nobody But You or I Can't See Me. Wait, I'm conflating songs.
Yes. I don't know what song you're talking about.
See, I thought it was gonna. When I saw the first teaser of the movie, I thought it was gonna be like about like an existential crisis, like what makes a toy.
Yes, yeah, that's
what I thought. And then the second trailer, that seems like it's not going
I
to go.
still
in that
kind of
direction.
see that with Forky.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I don't want to have this mentality, but I think it's Pixar just being like, we need a new mascot. Here.
We want to save money.
Are they going to change all of the sporks on Pixar Pier to now be Forkies?
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding
Which
me?
is, but that's
Do
actually
you think
kind of
there's going to be a whole stand where you can build your own Sporky?
the kind of horrifying thing about that, though, is that there's going to be so many thrown out Sporkies.
Yeah.
It's going to traumatize so many children.
Exactly.
That's fine. Pixar loves to traumatize
No,
children.
but see, that's what they're going to do is there's all the thrown out ones, you know, at night, the third
Shift.
the third shift staff is going to come. They're going to collect them all. There's going to be an army of them the next morning.
Just killing people.
Just preparing for battle.
Just taking out eyes one spork at a time.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Did you guys watch the Stranger Things 3 trailer?
Did watch the Stranger Things
yeah.
trailer.
So
it was
good.
great. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Super excited for it.
It feels like a horror Sandlot, and I'm so down for it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Also, I've never seen The Sandlot.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How?
I like
It's on every channel every day.
because when I was a kid,
The
whenever
Sandlot is a movie that I'm pretty sure is shown more on television than any other film.
it's like inescapable.
It is.
I'd say
You were fighting it.
outside of The Shawshank Redemption, it's the most played movie on cable. Also, I've never seen all of The Shawshank Redemption.
I don't fault you for that. It is a million hours long.
Yeah.
But Sandlot.
Is it one of those movies where you've seen like enough bits of Sandlot?
I've seen bits and pieces.
So
Yeah,
I've
like
known-
I know what it's about. They play baseball. It's set in the 50s. There's this big monster dog owned by James Earl Jones. At the
Babe
end,
Ruth.
is like just a total
Baseball.
normal looking dog. Someone tells someone else they throw like a
You
girl.
play ball like a girl.
Yeah. So like I know the broad strokes of it, but
Yeah.
when everyone else was watching Sandlot as a kid, I was watching like Blazing Saddles.
You're
Animal
missing out
House.
That
on
does
stuff.
explain a lot, honestly.
Doesn't it really explain a lot, though?
does.
Yeah. I have no sense of childhood wonder. I'm a
Sandlot is
gross
such
monster.
like quintessential summer film, though. Like I feel like every coming of age indie film that we've gotten in the past 15 years has just been trying to recreate Sandlot.
Yeah. So?
Watch the damn movie, Chris.
I think it's overrated. There, I'm going to say it.
I've watched so much for you.
What?
And
what
you,
have I forced you to watch?
I mean, not forced, but shamed me into watching. Where I've given the same review with Shawshank and The Godfathers, where like I've seen enough from parody that I don't have to watch the film, but I did it for you.
We have never talked about The Godfather in the entirety of our friendship. No.
Yes, we absolutely have.
Vasilios, I don't know if you're aware of this. We actually brought you here to be a couples counselor for Cameron and myself.
All right, guys. So let's begin.
He doesn't listen to me.
Well, it's not your time to talk. This is Chris's time.
Actually, he's right, though. I'm never listening to him. Music is playing these headphones right now.
You see, everything's a joke to him. I'm trying to have a serious relationship conversation. And he doesn't even think you're a real counselor. He thinks this is all a bit. But you are here to counsel us.
I am.
I mean, all good couples counselors wear Batman Beyond t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I cut the whole thing together after to make myself sound like a really good counselor.
Perfect.
That's why we're recording it.
That's why we're
it's being
here.
recorded.
Anywho, Stranger Things 3.
Yes, looks great.
Looks fun as fuck. Cannot wait.
I'm glad it got really dark at the end of the trailer. Like it got really intense because that's what that's what I would look forward to because I want them to keep pushing the envelope with that. And there's only going to be 4, right? Is there only going to be 4?
4 episodes? Oh, 4 seasons.
4 seasons. I think there's only going to be 4.
I would
seem
rather
to
this be
recall that.
a more limited series. Like I don't want this to go on forever.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the creator said there were only going to be 4.
Okay.
So yeah, I do want them to keep pushing because I felt like in the first season I didn't get enough of the monster, and the second season was better, and I would just want them to keep pushing it.
Yeah, because there's still a lot of questions from 2 we have to answer that I don't think we can get through in 3. Because especially all of the other numbers.
Oh, I forgot that was the thing.
right.
Yeah, because they were in 1 episode.
Yeah.
That's
right, when 11
Oh, yes, we have this whole other storyline. Let's just forget that.
That was the worst episode. That was the worst episode.
It had the most potential and just fell flat.
Yeah.
Because it felt so out of left field.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of things with potential to fall flat, Titans.
Oh yeah. Titans.
Titans casting, yeah.
Wait, so why are we talking about this?
Because it's the news section.
It's the news section.
No, why are we talking about Titans?
Well, it's relevant. And
Casting.
It's something we can shit on.
Yes.
I see.
It's to feel superior to something.
I see.
Look how smugly I'm sitting right now. Clearly, this is what I want to be doing at the moment. But I did actually want to talk about one thing specifically in regards to Titans, because it is well documented that I hate this show, even though I was on board with it until I think episode 10 of 11, and then it just went so far downhill that I hate the damn thing now. And
as a listener, I've never been more happy to see that happen about anything.
to watch me finally admit that I was wrong.
To watch you finally, while I'm like rubbing my face through the Titans talk, to go like, Chris is better than this. Cameron, but Chris is better than this.
Cameron, we expect this from Cameron.
Yeah.
Look,
I give hope to everything.
I was trying so hard to be on board with it until the end.
I didn't get it.
I feel like now with season 2, they're trying to get people back. Like they've cast Superboy, which I don't think we talked about that casting. It's some Australian dude.
Cool.
He's not quite handsome enough, to be perfectly honest. No offense, dude, whatever your name is. They're bringing in Deathstroke. They announced who that was. I had it up here. Isai Morales, who I don't really know who that is. If you look at a photo of him, he basically looks like a TV version of Deathstroke. Like he looks like he'd be on TV. Maybe he's on Riverdale. He looks kind of familiar. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this guy before.
Yeah. I don't know where. It doesn't matter.
He was in NYPD Blue. He was in Caprica. I watched an episode of that.
Oh, was he the lead in Caprica?
Potentially.
I think maybe that's why he looks familiar, because I
He's
saw
in
those promos.
Ozark, The Brink, I never watched. A lot of stuff I've never watched, but his
Well,
face
there we
looks
go.
very familiar.
One of those faces. But the more exciting thing is they've cast Jericho. I don't really know anything about the character Jericho.
You don't? Oh, Jericho has a great backstory.
What's his deal?
He is Deathstroke's son, firstborn son, who joined the Titans. No, started off as a villain, was attacked by Slade? I think Deathstroke attacked him.
Okay.
Deathstroke slit his throat, so he lost the ability to talk.
Okay.
And he's kind of had different iterations of powers. At one point, he was kind of like Rogue,
Okay.
where he could just take other people's powers. But his version in Titans is great because he can take over people's bodies, including their powers.
Why is he called Jericho? Is that just his name?
I think so.
Okay. Doesn't like allude to.
I feel like Jericho is some thing,
Isn't
right?
Jericho some biblical thing?
Yeah, so the story of
That
Jericho
sounds
is
right.
when like the armies of Israel paraded around the cities of Jericho, and then they all shouted out, and all of the instruments played at the same time, and then the walls of Jericho came tumbling down.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought it might be like a voice-related power, like
I mean, he's
Joseph
mute.
So I think that was his original power was.
or maybe it's the use that his name's ironic because he can't talk.
Joseph William Wilson was his original name. Abilities, motor function control of others through eye contact. Yep. And then
that's
skilled
right.
hand-to-hand combat. Yes.
Well, I mean, who isn't if you live with Slade Wilson?
Yeah.
But what's exciting about the casting is who's the actor? Chella Man is the actor they've cast, and he is a deaf, trans, Chinese, Jewish actor. That is awesome. Also very, very handsome. Which is extra bonus points there. But no, that's just cool. It's like I think TV has always been a little bit further ahead of film in terms of representation on screen. So that's like one saving grace of the Titans universe, that it's actually kind of pushing that forward a little bit more so than other versions are. Mm-hmm. That being said, the show is terrible.
But I'll continue to say Doom Patrol is continuing to get better every week.
I know. I need to
Started off
watch
good.
it.
This week's episode was fantastic. I will say.
I know. I need to watch it.
It was a great story,
Who
great
has the
characters.
time?
They introduced the other members of Doom Patrol from the comics.
Oh, really?
So we got to meet Mento.
Oh.
He was great. It's good. It's good.
The Fresh Maker. Mento, the Fresh Maker.
Yeah.
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 Okay, we should also probably talk about not the biggest piece of news for Cameron personally, but the biggest piece of news entertainment-wise
Oh,
for
yeah,
a
that
long
thing.
time.
I mean, it still affects me.
Well, yeah, because it affects everybody.
That's
like
true. It
it's going
affects
to
all
affect
of
this
Hollywood.
entire industry, an entire city for a long, long time. Of course, we're talking about the closing of the merger between Fox and Disney.
Yes. It's big.
It's lots of layoffs already happening, expected, closing down of huge divisions of Fox, including like Fox, what's it, Fox Searchlight, Fox 2000?
It's Fox 2000.
Fox 2000, yeah. I mean, so the branch of Fox that made the Devil Wears Prada, that made Hidden Figures, that has kind of made a lot of these cool indie films, that's getting shut down.
Well, I assume they would just put all that behind Searchlight because that's still alive for now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be alive for now, but you know, what's the real problem we're going to see here is we're going to see just a massive drop in the number of movies made. Because I heard someone say that Fox makes like 18 movies a year.
I don't think that's a bad thing, though.
I think it is.
Just in general, though, I think I don't know. I think that might speak to like the feeling of disposability of films. It's like that. There's so many films that you're not allowed to actually like dwell on them and like consider them, and you're immediately on to the next film, and they don't hold this like a spot in your mind anymore. I think that part of it, I think, is good.
See, I agree with that general notion, but I think actually the opposite's going to be happening here, because what we're going to see now is
More Disney films.
well, yeah, we're going to see
Frozen 4. Frozen Forever After.
More like Frozen 14.
Yeah.
we're just going to see more tentpole films. I mean, you look at Disney's slate this year, right? So what? Captain Marvel, Dumbo,
Yep.
Avengers,
Endgame.
yes, and then Lion King.
Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, Aladdin, Lion King, Star Wars.
Yep.
Frozen.
Yep.
What are the Pixar movies that are coming out this year? Oh, Toy Story 4. We were just talking about one earlier.
Yeah.
Like, so they have like, they are making like all the biggest movies that are coming out this year. So what we're going to see is fewer movies made, and the ones that are getting made are going to be safe. That's a very good way of putting it. Yes. Not necessarily generic, because they're still good at making those big tempo movies good, but they're going to be really safe bets. And I think...
But that's already a shift we've been seeing in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, but
we've talked about many times, the that kind of what is it, like the $10 million movie? No, sorry, the $50 million movie isn't made anymore.
No.
And everything is under 10 or over 100.
But so I think, Vasilios, to your point, what's going to happen though is that people are going to be seeing fewer movies that actually speak to them, right? I mean, because even if a lot of movies are made, that means that there can be a greater variety in the kind of stories we're telling, the type of characters we're showing those stories, what stories are about. And I think we're going to see that get further and further consolidated, right? So you look at something like, I've talked about this a lot, Love, Simon was my favorite movie that came out last year. That movie was made by Fox. Not for political reasons, but just in terms of like budget and safety reasons. Would Disney have made something like that? Again, you're talking about like a mid-budget range film that opened wide. That's not necessarily a movie they're going to make.
Well, I think the biggest change that's going to come out of this, and what Netflix has set itself up for, is all of these filmmakers are now just going to jump to streaming. We're going to get more to All the Boys I Loved Before,
which is great.
Yeah.
But there is still something to be said for the value of opening in theaters. It's the same reason that John Chu and the writer of Crazy Rich Asians, I can't remember his name, they opted to go for Warner Brothers rather than Netflix. It was less money in the deal, but it was going to open wide, and sometimes that's really, really important.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that. So yeah, we're going to still get lots of stories that are going to be shown on Netflix.
Like, in terms of impact, in terms of like the... Yeah,
in terms of cultural impact.
When you can go outside and see other people enjoying your culture is very different than basking in it in bed.
And, when stuff is released on Netflix, we don't get the box office number. So there's not the actual... there's no like tangible way of going, look, this was a success. So that's why movies like Crazy Rich Asians, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, I mean, they're all big studio films, but they have proven to defy the assumptions about what sells. And if all that stuff goes to Netflix, that same sort of cultural impact won't be there and actually become more disposable in a lot of ways. And I love what Netflix is doing, but it becomes even more so like, oh, that was the movie that came out in like 2 months ago. Like that's the thing with Netflix, right? It's about once a month or so they put out something that captures everyone's attention, and then it gets replaced by whatever the next Netflix thing is.
Right.
Well, but then you have the new argument of Roma, where you do a double release. Like, will theaters, now that there's less competition, will theaters be more open to riskier films for them to promote?
Probably
like
not.
I mean, there's still, with less with less production houses, that doesn't mean less films are going to be made.
Right.
It just means
it's the same people who are going to be making all of them.
Yeah. So now it's up to the theaters to make that decision of, do we want only big movies that we know are going to fill seats, but we're just going to have to either put them in, open more theaters to the same movie, or do we want to take risks on these smaller films that are going to be huge online? Will people still, is this movie going to be big enough where people will want to see it on screen, on a bigger screen?
Well, why can't they have like a theatrical release, and then after the theatrical release it goes to...
Well, yeah, so that's...
Because nobody would see it?
So that's what happened with Roma. Roma had, as far as I know, the longest theatrical run of a Netflix film before actually going up on the service. I want to say it was 3 weeks. Also, these things I should know and I don't. But the problem there is that a lot of theater chains aren't super keen on only having a 3-week window. Like, the theater chains want to have the longest window possible so they can have exclusive rights to show those movies. People go to the theaters.
Right.
So they're disinclined to then bring in something that's only going to be there for a short period of time when they could be paying the distributors to get something that will be there for 10, maybe 12 weeks, whatever, if it's a bigger movie. So I think what's going to happen is as more stuff switches to Netflix, the studios, advertisers, and just like theater chains are going to be more reliant upon huge movies that people we know will go see in a theater.
Which ultimately hurts like the art of filmmaking.
Yeah, it hurts the art of filmmaking. It hurts the consumer because then everyone is banking more and more on these films. So that means like the cost of going to theater is going to keep going up because the more you eventize something, the more quote unquote demand there is for it. So it's just going to keep getting more expensive to go to theaters, which is then going to drive more and more people to go just watch stuff on Netflix instead. Yeah. It's fucking confusing, guys.
I mean, we talk a lot about Netflix.
Into it. We got into the weeds.
Yeah. We talk a lot about Netflix, but we can't forget about Amazon stuff as well. Because Amazon has been pushing more to bridge that gap as well. Because, you had... Is it just called Amazon Studios?
Yeah.
Their production house? Yeah, so you had The Big Sick.
Oh, that was one of the best films of that year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Where, Amazon is becoming a force, especially at Sundance, where they're coming through and just buying everything.
Yeah.
And, most of those do make it into theaters. Mm-hmm. And so I think, I think with the studio combining, there's still going to be room. Yeah, I think big movies are just going to continue to be safer and safer. But we're still going to have the little guy still, pushing his way through whatever means necessary.
Yeah. No, I think, we're still going to see new filmmakers, new voices appear on Netflix. But I think for a lot of people, success is still going to be defined by getting their movie into a theater where everyone can see it. Mm-hmm. So,
and I do want to make this point because I've had a few people ask me this week. Yes, the merger is happening. No, Anastasia is not a Disney princess. To throw that out there. But Dr. Frankenfurter is a Disney queen.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'm on board with this. Absolutely on board with it.
Yes. This is now confirmed.
Why is Anastasia not a Disney princess?
She doesn't fit all the qualifications.
Oh, yeah.
Cameron, can you
need
please
to run through the qualifications?
No, we don't. We don't
I want to hear them.
We've already heard them.
But I want to hear them again.
It's not important.
For those of you who are joining for the first time and have not already given up on the podcast, Cameron is going to remind us what are the qualifications to be a Disney princess.
So you have to be the main female protagonist of your film. Mm-hmm. Must be animated. Mm-hmm. Must be Disney animated. That's why Anastasia doesn't make the count.
Okay.
They made that rule specifically for Giselle from Enchanted because she's not a princess because Disney would have to pay for the likeness rights of Amy Adams.
Ah, good point.
Yeah, because the princess has to be in the park for her to be an official princess.
Yes.
Must be a box office success, but not too big of a success, i.e. Frozen, which is why Anna is not a Disney princess.
She's her own special club.
Mm-hmm. Must be human and must be... must be human, must be not from a sequel, which is why Ariel's daughter from Little Mermaid 2 is not a princess, and also why Nala from Lion King is not a princess. Mm-hmm. And you must either be born into royalty, marry into royalty, or save your country.
To allow for Mulan.
Yes. And so there's only one princess that still fits all that criteria and still is not an official princess.
Princess Leia?
No, live action.
Oh, right, yes.
No,
damn
it's
it.
Meg.
Come on, Chris. Chris, have you not been listening?
Hercules.
Oh,
because
that's
I've done
right.
the math.
Is there actual math involved in you're doing the math on this?
Yes, because the reason I don't think Meg is a princess is because Hercules didn't make as much money as the other Renaissance films.
Yeah.
But I compared it to the lowest grossing princess film, which is very sad to say, is Princess and the Frog.
Which is a great film.
It's a great film. And Hercules made basically the same amount of money as that. Mm-hmm. But then there's another theory of why she's not a princess is because Meg used to be in the parks, but her wig was so heavy that the cast members dressed as Meg were having neck problems. Aww. And they had to pull they couldn't show the character anymore because no one wanted to put the wig on anymore.
I mean, that's fair. That is a massive head of hair.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. Vasilios. In case you were wondering, those are the rules.
Vasilios, I feel like you're never going to come back on the podcast. You're like, you came here to talk about Batman Beyond. We've been talking about all kinds of other bullshit this entire time.
No, it's all right. If I suffered through you guys talking about Titans, I can suffer through anything.
Okay, we have saved, for Cameron at least, the best piece of news for last.
I'll speed through this as fast as possible.
Yeah, like you can speed through this topic.
Yes. Scooby-Doo. So we're getting a new animated Scooby-Doo theatrical film for 2020. We've already been told Will Forte is going to be in the film. Gina Rodriguez is going to be in the film. And they just announced Zac Efron and Amanda Seyfried are both going to be in the film.
Yeah, Zac Efron's voicing Fred. Amanda Seyfried's voicing Daphne. Gina Rodriguez is Velma.
Yes.
And Will Forte is, of course, Shaggy.
Yes. And the voice of Scooby-Doo, I don't remember the guy's name, but it's the guy who's been voicing Scooby since like 1979.
Forever.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Now, I've heard this movie is going to be called Scoob, not Scooby-Doo. That is what I read recently. But this is also like they're crossing over with other Hanna-Barbera properties, right?
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about, Chris. So there's rumor that Warner Brothers is going to step up their game finally and open this up to a Hanna-Barbera multiverse, which we know has worked in the past. This is not the first time we've seen a Hanna-Barbera universe, which means Wacky Racers is just around the corner.
Cannot wait.
I cannot wait.
What everyone's been demanding for so long.
I've been marching outside of Warner Brothers Studios for years.
True, I've seen it. I have seen that. That I have seen.
Holding up We're Wacky for Wacky Racers.
Yeah.
And
constantly getting kicked off the lot.
Yeah.
Constantly putting on a new mustache to try and trick them.
Mm-hmm. Just like Dick Dastardly.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, it's worked in comics so far because there was the Future Quest, which was just all of Hanna-Barbera coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked in television before.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that this would be, a safe bet for a multiverse.
Everything needs to be multiverse.
Yes, it does. Because Marvel changed the game.
Hasn't there been in development for a long time a 90s Nicktoon crossover movie? I'm like,
No,
I'm pretty sure this was a thing that was announced. I feel like we even talked about it.
Live action or animated?
Animated.
Okay.
An animated movie that was going to bring in a whole bunch of the 90s Nicktoons.
Well, I mean, Rugrats Go Wild.
Well, yeah, I know. That's with them and
when,
the Wild Thornberrys.
Yeah.
But no, look it up because I'm pretty sure it's a real thing. And while you're doing that, we're finally going to start talking about Batman.
Okay, that's
finally
that's
now. Because
if you guys are excited
I
about
didn't wear this shirt for nothing.
Yeah, if you guys are excited about the Hanna-Barbera multiverse, let me know.
Yeah,
because I want to talk about that with somebody.
Let Jess Cameron know. Leave me out of this. But no, so Vasilios, you specifically requested our episode this week, Out of the Past.
Yeah.
To come in and talk about. Yeah. And after rewatching, I can understand why, because it is excellent. Mm-hmm. So for just like the quickest of recaps, basically, it's that Talia comes back into Bruce's life and offers to let him join her in using the Lazarus Pit to become youthful again, but everything is not as it seems. So what about this episode makes it one of your favorites? Like, why was this the one you wanted to come in and talk about?
Well, so it's been so long since I've watched the show. I actually didn't watch that much of it when it was originally airing, but I went back and watched every single episode while I was in college. Okay. And thought it was the best cartoon I'd ever seen in my life, only surpassed by Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Good.
But I
still
need to go back. I still need to go back and rewatch Avatar because I have not rewatched Avatar. And so I'm not really so I'm looking at like the lists and descriptions of all, because I knew that I would like to come on and talk about at least one of the episodes in Batman Beyond, because I love Batman Beyond so much. It's my favorite show of the Timmverse. And I'm going back and I'm looking at like all the descriptions and the summaries of all the episodes to jog my memory. So the one that pretty much stuck out the most, other than Return of the Joker, the movie, was this episode. And I didn't really remember. I remember just loving so much the sequence of Terry and Bruce taking on the guards, fighting together. Yeah. I remember the Batman theme on electric, the Batman the Animated Series theme on electric guitar making an appearance in that sequence. And I just thought it was the coolest thing to have young Terry and young Batman fighting together. And I remember really loving the episode, but it really took a rewatch to remember like how I remembered the twist like a second before it happened, which is always a really cool feeling.
Oh, okay,
It was
yeah.
a really cool feeling. And so I didn't remember the twist. I didn't remember Paul Dini wrote it. And that the writing was so good.
This is also the first time Kevin Conroy sang for us.
This is true.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And the most amazing introduction of an episode I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
It really is. Yeah, the Batman musical, Kevin Conroy getting to show off those pipes because he is a phenomenal singer.
Yeah. That's great. So
Also, would you guys go see that musical?
So, fun fact, this musical was in production at one time.
Really?
Yes, in 2002, Tim Burton was pulled on to direct a live-action Batman musical.
Oh my God! Spider-Man Into the Dark before it ever even happened.
Yes, which unfortunately fell through, I assume in preparation for Batman Begins.
Yeah.
But in 2009, late 2000s or early 2010s, Chicago actually had Holy Musical Batman, which was a Batman musical.
Now, was that specifically the 60s version? I'm assuming based on the title. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the musical version in the show, like, I think it was an homage as well to the 60s version.
Yeah.
To the spirit of the 60s version of the
Because
TV show.
it's hokey as fuck.
Yeah.
But also what's fun about it is you get to see what Batman's life is perceived to be so far into the future, right? So like the versions of the villains you see on stage, so what it's Two-Face, Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Penguin, and Catwoman.
Yep.
Are all there, and
Who's
they're
dressed
all
as a cat from Cats.
yes,
not as
yes,
Catwoman.
exactly. Like people remember Catwoman as being like dressed like a cat, and even the Joker has like the almost kind of like the mask. It's like that really big gangster style like
He's
hat.
wearing the fish episode outfit. He's got the hat from Make 'Em
the
Laugh.
Laughing Fish.
Yeah,
Make 'Em laugh.
That's from Laughing Fish.
The wide-brimmed.
The wide brimmed hat. Yeah.
Classic Joker look.
But it's almost like a little bit zoot suit-esque. But it's so fun to see what people think that was all like and how it is close-ish, but it's also so skewed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about it for a super quick second. Avatar did an episode of this. Do you remember the Ember Island Players is the last episode before the finale?
I do not. No, I do not.
Where it's the same premise. It's a recap episode done in play form, where it's the gang going to watch their story.
Vaguely.
And
Yeah.
it's all, since it's, they're watching it in the Fire Nation, it's all skewed to make them the villains. And it's all offhand knowledge from other people. So everything is just a little bit off. And I love that. I love,
Bless you.
I love that like off musical concept so much in an episode.
Like Thor Ragnarok did that too.
Yes.
Like the Thor 1 and 2, especially the Thor 2 recap. With was it Matt Damon, Luke Hemsworth, and Sam Neill.
Which
so
I
good.
Just went back and rewatched Thor 2. I'm one of the Thor 2 defenders.
Okay.
Not as good as I thought it was.
It's funny you mention that because
I am no longer a Thor 2 defender.
Firmly middle of the pack movie.
I am also doing a selective MCU rewatch right now. So I skipped The Incredible Hulk. Otherwise, I've watched everything. I'm watching Iron Man 3 right now, which I still quite enjoy, despite the criticism. And I'm at that point where next up would be Thor 2. And I'm like, do I, don't I? Because I've always been a bit of a Thor 2 apologist as well. I'm like, it's fun. Like, it's dumb, but there's some good stuff in there. But I'm kind of hesitant to do it.
Yeah, coming out of Thor 2, I just thought, like, I miss that Thor.
Yeah.
Very much. But I didn't. I'm not. It's not an MCU classic.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't help that after Ragnarok and Infinity War, any previous version of Thor just looks silly.
It looks dated. Yeah, it looks dated.
Blonde eyebrows.
The blonde eyebrows. I actually think the worst version of Thor is in the Avengers. Like his look is the weirdest in that one. There's like I don't know. His hair is too flowy. I don't know what it is. It's
that's
like
not possible.
The suit doesn't look right. Like I think the dyed eyebrows look funky in the first Thor movie, but otherwise like that actual suit looks really good, and the Avengers suit quite a bit less so.
Yeah, but I do miss that world and the tone. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so That makes more sense, but I do miss that tone. I miss that tone's place in that universe, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because they made a sharp left turn by the time they got to Thor Ragnarok, which I also just rewatched. And guys, it is so good.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I need to go back and rewatch Captain Marvel, is because the more I think about it, pretty much every MCU film I appreciate more on subsequent viewings.
I did go back and see it a second time. Our friend of the podcast, KT, messaged me. And
you?
Just me.
Katie?
The hell? So I will reserve my new comments.
God damn it.
I will reserve my new comments and my new point of view on the film until you get your second viewing.
Yes. But I still haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon 3. I got to get that in there.
I know I need to watch that too.
You don't have to see that.
But I want to see it.
I know.
I just rewatched the first two.
I know. The first two are so good.
Yeah. I mean, I should be listening. If Cameron's saying I don't have to see something.
No. You should. You should have your own opinions on it.
Also, is it even still in theaters anymore? Probably not.
I think so.
It's probably hard to find, but...
No, I think until Dumbo comes out, I think everything is...
So I have a week?
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't have time for that. But yeah, so we're talking about the Batman musical.
Yeah. Right.
I
Batman.
love that moment, well, especially too how mad it makes Bruce.
Yes, Schwarbage.
Yeah, exactly. Schwarbage, because you can see why Terry would have so much fun with it, because it's so silly, and he is like the one other person that has this window into like how particularly funny this all is, because he actually knows a lot of the truth. But for Bruce, it's just adding yet another insult to this legacy that he feels like falling apart around him.
Yeah.
Poor Bruce. But also, where the hell does he get a wheeled car? Like, it's well established that Bruce has that sick flying limousine. Why the fuck is he driving around in his old car?
Because that's real money. Is when everyone else has the future car.
He has the antique.
And you have the. I mean, it's the same. 60s cars are a lot more expensive now than current cars.
Okay, so I guess true, there's real money, but
you're the car person. You should know this stuff.
I'm aware of how the value of cars work, Cameron.
At the same time, though, I feel like this is it also, it fits like thematically into the moment that he's longing for the past. He misses the past.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that was him just kind of acting out a little bit and be like, I can do this myself. I'm going to take out this.
Not only that he drives a wheeled car, but he drives it himself.
Yeah.
And that he wants to change the tire himself.
How
does he not have a chauffeur? How does he not?
He does.
Well, he did.
We've seen it a few times. And I think this is exactly what you said. I think it's him wanting... Because Talia kind of implanted the idea in his head of like, you can't do anything on your own anymore.
I could have used a line there. That why he was driving.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. I think you're right. The implication that he wanted to do it himself, and because he did have a chauffeur. Because we see a chauffeur in
the
Ace in the Hole.
Okay, it's a very bad chauffeur. Maybe he just had so many bad chauffeur experiences after Alfred passed that he's like, it's not even.
That does feel like the implication is that other chauffeur
Terry
was so bad. Well, yeah, it's like I think he didn't have one. Like I think he had a string of bad chauffeurs. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do away with this entirely. And then as soon as Terry shows up, now he has someone to drive him around again.
What I kind of wished happened is because we always see that he has bat suits hidden everywhere in Batman Beyond and BTOS. That like when he went to go get the tire, like it wouldn't have been a real tire. It's just where he's hiding another bat suit.
This is another bat suit.
He's like, oh, damn it. I never expected a flat tire ever.
It's a bat suit disguised as a tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just opens up the spare. It's like, oh, god damn it.
Oh, man, that's another bat suit.
It's multiple bat suits, too, because he never knows what situation he's going to go into.
Yeah.
So it's like the underwater bat suit.
He never opens the trunk.
Yeah. It's super dusty at this point, too. It's half eaten by moths.
Yeah. Is there a full version of that song somewhere?
What song?
Of Cowardly Lot or...
Oh, the musical?
Yeah, I didn't
don't know.
Probably. I mean, fans are crazy.
God, I hope so. But yeah, so as Bruce is like going through his sad malaise, he is flicking through old photos of his ex-girlfriends.
Because as every sane person has an ex's file.
Yeah, on his bat computer.
Yeah.
But I did think the choices
were
interesting.
Do you not keep your ex's file on your work computer?
I don't have exes. That's not true. I have an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who I recently reconnected with. She is the best.
Good.
She's a goddamn delight, and I adore her.
I make sure to keep all of my personal files on my work computer at all times, just in case I have like a really sad moment.
Yeah, I just got to go back and look through some more. Why? That would just make you more depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's what you do, though.
To make yourself feel worse?
Yeah. What do you do on your birthday? You don't look at all the happy times you had when you were younger?
Actually, you know what? I do understand
he doesn't drink, as we've learned many times before.
Well, okay. In The Dark Knight Returns, that version of retired Bruce does, but that's also the Frank Miller bitter, weird version that has a mustache.
Yeah.
That shaves itself somehow. I don't know.
It's the future.
It's weird. But actually, I do kind of understand that concept of like when you're feeling down, sometimes you like dig yourself deeper into a hole.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, we had 2 golden retrievers. They're brothers, Bo and Luke. And nice. Cameron will appreciate this. Bo always reminded me of Doug from Up, and Luke always reminded me of Wally. Like there's something about the personalities that always kind of fit. And so when each of them passed, I would then go and watch the movie that reminded me of them because like I'm already sad. Let's make myself sadder.
Yeah.
Oh, depressing times.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. You were saying the interesting choices of who.
Oh, yes. Interesting choices. So I think we saw Selena's in there. So it's Selena,
I have the
Barbara.
It's Zatanna, Lois, Selena, and Barbara.
Yes. No Andrea.
Lois. No Andrea Boma.
There was an interview with Paul Dini after this episode asking why, and he said he doesn't include murderers on the list. But that is wrong because at the end of the episode, Talia is on the list.
Yeah.
And she murders a lot of people.
She does murder a lot of people.
She does.
Also, Cameron, I'm going to give you credit because you have so far pulled out a whole bunch of trivia things that I looked up. But that means you did your research.
I did
this
research.
Time. You did your research.
You don't have a guest. I do minimal research.
Yeah. I see. You only really try when there's a guest around.
I don't need to impress you anymore.
You only put an effort when there's other people around, Cameron.
Yeah.
Sometimes you should put an effort just for me.
Well, you see what he's doing? He's putting words in my mouth, just like he always does.
Cameron, it's not quite your turn to talk yet.
Sure. He can just talk for me, like always.
Yeah. It works better that way.
Yeah. Just call me Scarface, because he's the goddamn ventriloquist.
I think we have an episode name.
I bring that up because you actually see Scarface in the Batcave.
Yeah.
In this episode.
We've seen him before.
Oh,
have
really?
we? Have we talked about this before?
Where is he?
Because it doesn't make when they do the panning shot right before he looks at his computer, you see Scarface behind one of the other cases.
Oh, okay.
But have we already talked about this? Where then that doesn't make sense because
he's destroyed.
Because both versions of Scarface were destroyed. Then Ventriloquist went clean.
Yeah.
So why is there a third?
Because Bruce had Alfred make a new Scarface.
Okay,
just so he could put it. Like, it also doesn't make sense that because he has like the Riddler's costume and he has like Freeze's ray gun. He has all these things.
Well, those make sense because those were still villains.
Yeah, but like, how did he get like the Riddler's costume, for example? Like, it's not because you could, okay, so something like
because when they take them to Gotham or to Arkham, they have to have them change into their orange jumpers.
Yeah,
so then since we know how easy it is to sneak in and out, Batman just jumps in, grabs the, and that's his form of reintegration into society. It's if you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
So he's just taking away their clothes.
Yeah.
Also, maybe now we know why Arkham's such a revolving door, is that whatever trapdoor Bruce is using to get into Arkham to steal the clothes, the villains are using just to get out again.
Yeah.
And they get out and they don't have their clothes and they're so mad about it.
Yeah, they're so mad they want to do crime.
They go on a crime spree. It's all a failed system.
Yeah.
Damn it, Bruce.
Once again, we've established that it's really all Batman's fault that everything goes wrong in that city.
I mean, this all stems back to the Grey Ghost, really.
This is true.
Because he just wants to collect. He couldn't collect all the Grey Ghost stuff.
Yep.
So now he saw the mistakes they made in that show. He's like, okay, I got to be a collector.
It's all your fault, Simon Trent.
Yep.
So Talia comes on.
Yeah. And then that was kind of a fun moment, too, when she comes into the cave and Terry shows that he actually does his homework.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
That he knows who she is, her whole history. He knows where she is currently.
What is the near apocalypse of 09?
So, there was a link on the Batman Beyond wiki, so I was trying to see if I could dig up some more information. There's not much. It was referenced also in...
I know what it was.
In Epilogue.
It was the employment crisis.
You're right.
Yeah, it was the employment crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody coming out of high school, coming out of college in 2009 get a job? The answer is no.
No.
Well, I mean,
No, they did not.
Raish is single-handedly
I know from
responsible
personal
for
experience.
the housing bubble burst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's well established that when his other means don't work, he chooses economics as a tool.
That's right.
Yes.
League of Assassins. League of
Realtors.
League of Employment Opportunity Assassins.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the near apocalypse of 09 entails. There's not a lot of information about it. I know that our good friends over at DC Watchtower have kind of tried to speculate as to what it involves. And I think they maybe even have written some stories that interweave that event. If I were a better friend and collaborator, I would know specifically what they've done.
No, it's all right.
But I don't.
But I think this episode is also very important because it sparked the nerd argument on par with GIF of is it Raish, is it Roz?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, shots fired.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
In
Shots
this
fired.
episode. Yeah, because Terry pronounces it Roz, and Talia has the audacity to correct him.
I wrote in my notes that this is
Because-
this is the nerd version of GIF, and then I realized that only nerds argue GIF versus GIF. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really hold up, but you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's funny that she also says a common mistake or common misperception
yeah.
or whatever she says. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Roz.
Paul Dini
It's
is great.
Raish.
It's Roz.
Oh yeah, we had that joke for a little. We tried to make that a
I
running
think
joke.
I was on for that episode.
You were actually. Now, okay, you guys are all in the GIF camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
GIF.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone else call people out in meetings and they say GIF?
Internally, I do.
Okay. Yeah.
No, because didn't like the
Guy who created,
Yeah,
the
but he can
thing.
fuck right off.
That's right.
It doesn't make any sense.
He's old.
shut up,
his
George
brain
Lucas.
Yeah, his brain's not all there anymore.
Because what's the acronym? It's
graphic interface format? Yeah.
Yeah, it's there in the goddamn word. It's GIF.
It's like RBI.
What?
RBI baseball. It's not
Rebel.
RBI. It's not RBIs. People say RBIs, but it's runs batted in, so it's RBI. So people were saying RBIs is R.
I always thought that was a baseball player named RBI.
RBI.
Yeah, Arby. Arby's a name.
RBI.
I mean, it's the ATM machine people.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Idiots.
Yeah.
Idiots, the lot of them.
It's-
But yeah, it's
The
well.
world is stupid because they don't think like I do.
Yeah, the only thing more insulting in this world than someone who pronounces it GIF is someone who says Raish.
Yeah.
So
That's so much more effort too. Like I can't scream like Raish did that as well as I
Yeah.
can say Roz did that.
Roz did that. Yeah.
Roz is more like guttural.
Roz sounds more menacing
Yeah.
too.
And in the other Batman animated universes, do they say Raz or Raish?
I don't know because
They say I feel like I remember.
The Batman.
So Roz was never in the Batman.
Oh, okay.
Because
Never watched
that
the
show premiered in 2004, if I recall, right before
Begins
came out in 2005. There were some
But in
characters.
Begins they said Raish.
No, Begins they said Roz.
Oh,
Raz.
they did. Okay.
It's Roz all the way through Begins,
Raz.
and
yeah, Irish Liam Neeson playing
exactly.
Raz Al Ghul.
Yeah, the Arabic immortal terrorist. But in the Batman, there were certain characters that were off limits. So Harvey Dent and Two-Face were off limits
Because
because of the film franchise.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, so in the same way that when they started...
They had to kill Deathstroke and not Deathstroke, Deadshot and
Yes.
Arrow.
Yes.
Was because Suicide Squad was coming out.
Yeah, that they took, with the Suicide Squad, the terrible Suicide Squad movie on its way, that they stopped the Arrowverse from continuing with any major Suicide Squad characters. It's the same deal that basically Warner Brothers didn't want to utilize,
their
it's kind
own
of like
characters.
waste any potential storyline. So Roz, Talia, League of Assassins, they were all off limits for the Batman. So he wasn't in that. I've never seen Beware the Batman.
Neither have I.
Nor have I have not seen Brave the Bold, which I obviously need to watch.
I
Was
don't
he in that
remember
at all?
him being in Brave and the Bold, but he was in a few episodes. He's in Young Justice.
And I think they say Roz in that,
And
right?
they do say Roz in that.
Yeah. So there we go.
So I think
Definitively
this is the only
answers-
episode they say Raish.
No, I mean they said Raish all the way
Yeah,
through
yes.
BTOS. So, but yeah, we all know my stance on the Roz camp.
Right, it's Raish.
Yeah, but so Bruce decides to take the dip in the Lazarus pit. And I thought it was interesting that the the conflicts they set up internally for both of them, right? So one, it's Bruce deciding if this is something he should really do, being torn between that helplessness and the need to feel like himself, but also the idea of what happens to Terry.
Yeah.
I love they touched on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of whether he would continue on or not. And even when Max makes a comment like, oh, you maybe you'll have your nights free again, you can tell he's not sure how to take that.
And I did like that uncertainty very much. Yeah, I did like that.
Because it makes sense. Like, he has just gotten used to this being the new normal, but all of a sudden it becomes a possibility of it ending. And kind of for a good reason, the Bruce becoming back, but it's part of his life now. That's not an easy thing to walk away from.
Yeah. I also love it that, just the Deanie foreshadowing all throughout. It's just all slipped in there. It's constantly like slipped in there. Like when she says like, he will be with me every night.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And then later on, what else? Oh, when he has the white temples, it's because Roz likes the white. He has the white temples. He likes that.
Well, even Bruce says that. Tully's like, I left a little gray in for you. And he's like, no, because Roz wants that.
Yeah, because likes that. Yeah. And there was another one too. I think I had written something.
Do you think Roz colors his temples to make sure they stay that way?
Well, obviously, if you can tweak it from the Lazarus pit,
That's true.
there's the hair color dial somewhere in the Lazarus pit.
There's that perfect temperature.
Yeah.
of when you're baking those cookies, there's that perfect temperature between, you just want it just gooey enough, but solid enough when you pick it up, it still holds its form.
Yeah, it can't like fall apart in your hands, but as soon as you crack the thing open, it's just oozing chocolate.
Yeah. That's that gray perfect.
That's that perfect.
That's that perfect gray right there.
It's time and temperature. It's the key to doing these things right.
Do you think he's like thrown? He like gets old people from the village and throws them in to find that perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
Or does he throw like? Is it more like a chromosome or whatever project where he has to throw the right amount of like old people in with white hair to get the formula right so that he has just amount of the salt and pepper.
The perfect mixture.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting thing in the comics that, as far as I know, they never brought into the DCAU, which is that the Lazarus pits are single use in the comics.
That's right.
Yeah. When you
really?
I don't know if that's always been the case, but they reference that in Hush specifically, because the whole thing about Hush is the Riddler uses one of them, and so then Roz is pissed because obviously he needs these things to survive, which in a lot of ways actually doesn't make sense they'd be single use because there'd be only so many of them, and there'd have to be enough of them for him to be using them for like centuries. But also, how do people not discover them?
Well, I mean, then
and use them themselves.
There's also, I don't remember what comic it's in, but it's where Roz Raish meets Vandal Savage.
Oh.
And they talk about, their different takes on being immortal.
They swap tips on immortality.
Well, because there was, God, what story was this? Because there was, from what I vaguely remember people talking about, the Lazarus pits emerged because of the meteor shower.
Oh,
that caused,
interesting.
Yeah, Vandal to become immortal.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
All those stones landing on Earth, or the meteorites, those are kind of the Lazarus pit is the remains of those meteorites.
Oh, so it all comes from the same place, basically. Oh, that's interesting.
So their immortality comes from the same spot.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
What fucking story is this?
Oh, I don't
this
know.
Is the Joker story. It's happened a couple years ago where there's now 3 Jokers running around Gotham.
Were they all running around at the same time?
I don't remember. I don't know. You read, you know these things.
Yeah, but Cameron, I was so proud of you for a second there. Like, you were throwing out some comic book knowledge from reading a comic book, and I had never read it. I didn't know
talked about this comic on the podcast.
All right, well, I'll let you keep tracking that down there. But did you guys also find that Bruce's turn was pretty quickly? Like, he gets out of it, he's super happy to be like young and spry again, and then it just takes like a couple
seconds.
Yeah, it takes one.
It's like curl.
Yeah,
curl. I hate this.
I'm done with all of this. I'm a monster.
Yeah, it did. I didn't get. That was my one really actually big critique.
Because it's very sudden and it's the complete opposite reaction. And like he had been hesitant all the way through, but it's like he goes from being like, yeah, this is cool, to being like, no, this is terrible. I gotta get out of here now. Not even like, oh, I'm not certain about this. I should go talk to Talia about maybe not, doing any more treatments of this.
The turn to trust Talia, because first of all, why are we trusting Talia? In what world? But I forgave that a little more just because it's a 22-minute episode or whatever.
Yeah.
And they did put effort. They put like 3 or 4 scenes of him like coming to resent his age. But
well, there's a lot of talk when she first walks in. There's a lot of talk of like I'm not my father. I'm doing everything with the league now to correct it.
But it's Talia.
But if we look back though
and he's vulnerable. He just looked at his ex's folder.
That's true. He's having
he
a
just saw
rare
someone
moment.
mock him on stage with weirdly his same voice.
Yeah. But so if you look at the history though between them, Talia really doesn't betray him ever, if I recall. It's that she would always choose her father over Bruce, except from what I read, apparently in the allusions to the near apocalypse of 2009, Talia betrays her father to stop whatever happens.
Yeah.
So that's what ends him.
Yeah. So that my understanding, and again,
that doesn't make her trustworthy though.
But I think
it's Talia.
Yeah, and I think Bruce has had years of like kind of isolation and like vulnerability builds up over time, and fondness I think grows with distance.
Maybe this was also when Alfred passes, and so he's just very vulnerable, and Talia's there. You're not thinking about that, Vasilios. You're not thinking about the big picture.
Because if you think about it, if you're
small scale,
it's Talia.
If you're Bruce,
sorry to be Tiny Terry over here.
Yeah, come
for
on.
a second.
Yeah, but like if you're
always thinking too small.
Call me big time.
Call me big time.
Call me
Charlie, Big Dick Charlie.
Charlie, call me Charlie Big Dick Charlie over here.
Well, so also if you think about it, that was 30 years ago at the time of this episode. More really, probably like 31, 32 years ago. As far as Bruce knows, Roz is gone. And the problem with him and Talia has always been Roz. So in his mind, Roz is gone. His ex-girlfriend, I'd say...
Who still looks smoking.
Who still, looks...
She still got it.
Looks great.
Uh-huh.
Looks fantastic. Still knows how to rock a cat suit. She shows up, basically offering to make him youthful again, and they can finally have their time together. And you think about even what she offers him, too. It's not even just youth, but it's like to pool their resources and to become like this philanthropic power couple. And that has always been a huge part of Bruce's motivation. It's not just fighting crime, but it's how else can he try and make the world a better place. And this is like a new opportunity for him to do that.
More
fair
money.
Points, yeah. Fair points.
Yeah.
But see, I would still keep her at arm's length though.
Yeah.
I would not let her into like my heart and my mind.
Well, I think he does. He does try and push back, and then it's the moment where he feels utterly useless when he tries to save someone and he realizes he can't do it anymore.
Yeah, but even
he can't save someone just from crossing at the street.
Yeah. But I still don't think the answer would be to trust Talia. Anyway.
No. Yeah, never trust Talia. Yeah. Her duplicity, literally she wears it on her face. We can't see her face half the time.
That's true.
Yeah. See, not to be trusted. But what if Bruce's turn does give us, to your point, Vasilios, is that amazing moment of Bruce and Terry fighting together, and they bring in the modernized version of the BTOS leitmotif as well, and it's good. It's a really, really good scene.
I could have used a little more of that.
Yeah,
and one more scene, like maybe they have to fight their way out of the exploding cave or something like that. At the end, I could have used one more scene of them.
I wanted them to have to fight each other for a minute.
When he comes out of the Lazarus pit all mad as fuck.
And he's strong again.
That would have been good. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, at least that's what I wanted the episode to end on. Is you see, because Terry makes a comment of you're still pretty youthful right now. He's like, are you gonna go out? And he's like, yeah, I'm going out in a minute. And you see Bruce kind of loosen the tie a little bit. He's like, how about a quick sparring session? Mm-hmm. And I just want to see Bruce just whip Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just it's funny to know where you're at right now.
Yeah, it's hard for I don't know if he just gets whooped. It's maybe a challenge for him, but Bruce clearly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have a nice sparring match, nice tussle.
Yeah.
Cameron, I must
start
say you
making out a little
always have great suggestions of how to improve an
Thank you.
episode.
Thank you.
I do.
You hear that?
I do always enjoy that. And I don't know why. I love you to death. I'm always kind of surprised by it.
That's fine. I'm also surprised.
I was mad until you found a way to insult him. I'm on board now.
I do love you to death, but I'm
fine.
always like, that's right. That would be better. That would be better.
Yeah. Don't let him get too much confidence. He'll think he can do this without me.
Welcome to Timm Talk, the only podcast that only takes one person to talk about. I'm Cameron Dexter.
Yeah.
Chris Lord has been fed to the crocodiles.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch the voice actor cameo of Carl, the henchman? Mm-mm. Good old Michael Rosenbaum.
Aw.
Old reliable.
Yeah.
Old reliable.
Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I forget just how often he would do other voices. So yeah, I think, should we now finally talk about the big twist of this whole thing? Talia's a dude.
Yes. How does the voice work? Are we going to talk about this?
Yeah, so...
How does the Roz voice come through?
The big twist here all along has been that after the near apocalypse of 2009, Roz's body was basically destroyed beyond repair, and so he...
Transfers his conscience.
He transferred his mind into Talia's body, which she, I guess, did willingly because she always did what her father asked.
How
pretty
dark,
fucked up.
How dark is that, though?
It's really, really
like when you
fucked
think
up.
about it. Exactly. Really, really dark.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love, because I wrote down so many quotes in this episode. There's so much good stuff. Where
you mean
Bruce,
you typed in a lot of quotes?
I
in this
did. Where Bruce's line of, they first talked about Talia's like, I don't cheat death, I master it. And then Bruce has the great comeback of, you don't cheat death, you whimper in fear before it. And I'm like, good. Oh yeah.
Paul Dini.
And I think that really, encapsulates it. It's Roz isn't doing this to better the world. He's doing this out of fear for leaving it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he's willing to sacrifice anything and everything to just, keep a finger in the game.
And this level of darkness, this new low is unlike anything we've ever seen from Roz.
Yeah.
It's more disturbing than like wiping out populations, than like overthrowing countries, than it's just darker.
But I feel like that's just how immortals treat children, though. Is they don't. I think we see it again in Young Justice with the Vandal episode with his two kids.
Great episode.
Like he cares about his kids for sure, but that's more to keep his legacy.
Yeah. I guess if you think about it, if you live long enough to see everyone you know die at some point,
especially when your kids don't have the same immortality that you do.
Yeah. Roz probably has had tons of kids.
Yeah.
Throughout time.
Yeah, he just doesn't care. They are no different than minions to him.
Yeah. Maybe Talia was his favorite. It certainly seems like the implication there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because maybe Talia was like of a kindred spirit with him.
Yeah.
Too, and he really saw her kind of as a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I think it's a nice little exploration of the theme of death, of the value of death. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which just adds to the quality of the episode as a whole.
But yeah, so Roz as Talia is going to try and put her mind inside Bruce's body, because I guess originally the technology could only work on close genetic matches, and now it'll work on anybody. Mm-hmm. And he even says Roz always saw Bruce as the perfect specimen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the next
his heir.
Yeah, the heir to the. It's not dragon. What's the term?
The demon?
Yeah, the demon. Yeah, the next demon's head.
Yeah,
demon's head. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but what I do think
it makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, and I do think his plan is interesting.
I love his plan.
Yeah, because he's going to de-age Bruce, put his mind inside the body, and then claim to be the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia, aka Damian. So, because Damian did not exist,
everything.
Yeah, inherit
Wayne.
both their empires together. And obviously, at the time this was written, Damian did not exist as a character. However, he did in some capacity, because when they reintroduced Damian, that was based off of a single issue from, I want to say the Denny O'Neil era in the 70s, where Talia does get pregnant and have a baby, and then it's never brought up again until Grant Morrison did the Batman.
It's in the 70s and 80s, everyone was having kids.
Everyone's just having kids.
That was just how you wrote female characters out.
Well, either that or you chop them up and put them in a fridge.
That's true.
It's one of the two. Yeah, but certainly never give them a real arc.
Which is a worse fate, really.
Like, because we've talked before about how the gender politics of the show don't hold up great sometimes. Like, how do you guys feel about some of the jokes around the fact that it's Roz inside Talia's body? Because like he hits Bruce and he even makes a comment like, "Oh, you even hit like a girl." And it's funny.
I'm sorry. In
it's
the
like,
moment, it was funny.
And I think
I can't. Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I can't get past the fact that it was funny. That's just a good line in a good moment.
it is a good line. And like Bruce was surprisingly quippy in this episode.
He was. Yeah. When he says, "You're creeped out. She kissed me."
Yeah, right.
Like, it's a great line. Yeah.
Now I have to ask, did they bone?
No,
I can't.
not yet.
Because I think there's a way of showing that even for this show.
I
There's
think
like a
that's
slow
what he knows.
fade out, and then it's the morning.
No, that's what he was working out for. It was going to happen that night.
Yeah.
So he was like, getting the body
Shoot,
ready.
dodged the bullet there, Bruce.
Yeah. Oh,
Am I
man.
the only one who wished that like in my head that did happen? Just because I love the idea of that happening to Bruce and him never ever wanting to talk about it, like never acknowledging it to anybody.
Yeah, he's like, so Bruce, what happened to you guys? Because you were gone for a night. We were there for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, no, we were there for a day. Terry. No, because I got knocked out.
Yeah.
I got knocked out the second day, and I came up to you guys' room. It was very sweaty. I assume you guys were working out.
Yeah.
Sparring.
Yeah.
Sparring. Yeah.
We were watching TV, but I don't think there's a TV.
There wasn't a TV
anywhere in the place.
You guys had matching robes, so that was adorable.
Yeah.
You gonna get on patrol sometime tonight, Terry?
You were wearing her shirt.
Yeah. No, I thought it
Those
was.
photos in your ex's file, they seemed a lot more recent.
Like, I just in my head canon that happened because like that would be the weirdest possible situation
And
imaginable.
comics can't get any weird. Yeah.
Like,
There's no limit to.
Think about how many steps are involved in that. Bruce had to get de-aged, then have sex with his ex he hasn't seen in 30 years, who still looks like she did 30 years ago. And then on top of that, realize that it was her dad / his greatest foe trapped inside her body.
with the ability to still use his old voice.
Exactly.
Still
Yeah,
don't
oh my
understand
God.
that. Still don't get that.
I guess there was a line at some point in there about explaining him to do like the vocal cords and transferring them, and they decided to just cut it out and not address it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think this would have been still, well, it wouldn't have been like on the surface level as creepy, but I think it would have been just as creepy if it was, maybe not.
If
it was Talia's voice still.
I think the voice is really effective, though. Part of it too is that I love David Warner as the voice of Roz, but just the incongruity there, like the disconnect of seeing her and hearing that voice. It's weird as an audience, so you get a sense of how weird it'd be if you were actually there and experiencing it, because it would be so weird.
Yeah. So I like to ask this question, especially when we have such a good single episode. Do you think this could have been a two-parter?
Yeah, but is the next episode the first two-parter that they did, or it's the second two-parter that they've done?
I think we have 2 more episodes until the two-parter.
Well, I mean the pilot two-parter, but yeah, there's The Call is coming up, which I know is a two-parter. Great couple of episodes.
Yeah, I do think it would have been a better two-parter. I think if it was a two-parter, you would have bought Bruce's decision to trust Talia.
They could have had time to fuck. They could have really included that in. That
Always
would
gotta
have been the fade to black from part 1 to part 2.
And it also would have given a little bit more room to breathe, like Bruce's decision that this was all a bad idea, room to breathe and be more believable too. If it was if you could pad those out a little bit, it would have been a little more believable.
See, I don't think it would work as a two-parter. I don't think there's enough story here. Because you think about the times in BTOS when they would do two-parters, they were pretty much exclusively used for villain origins. So we're talking Two-Face, Clayface, Heart of Steel, The Demon's Quest, obviously introduction of Roz, even Robin's Reckoning. Those are all episodes that had to do a lot of backstory. there's not that much backstory here, really. Like, I thought they were actually pretty efficient in terms of establishing like who she was in regard to Roz, like establishing the connections between Bruce, Roz, and Talia. They did all that pretty efficiently. I don't know what else they would have added here.
Well,
really.
Cameron brought up a couple suggestions.
I wasn't listening.
Did I?
What were they?
You did. Like you said, like if it could just be like a them fight, that's 2 or 3 minutes more.
Yeah.
If you just have to, you would have to introduce. You're right, Chris. But you'd have to introduce like another plot. Like you'd have to introduce like, and this is part. What is the scheme? What is the Al Ghul scheme?
Yeah.
If you introduce that area, that's like another 10 minutes.
I think they could have given an equal amount of time. So all the time we had for Bruce to make that decision, we could have had time for Terry to deal with that decision. Where we saw him talk with Max about it, and Max like, "Oh, you can have your night back." And maybe we don't need to see Dana, but you could do something with that. You do something where he's with his family, where they're like, "Oh, we're going out to eat, tomorrow night. Do you want to join us?" And then he can finally be like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that."
I mean, I guess if they spent some time in the new normalcy that would have been, then it could have worked. I think probably the reason they avoided that was for the very reason of not having to explain how much time Bruce and Talia would spend together with her as Roz.
Yeah.
Just get them all for. I've changed my mind. It should have been a 2-part episode.
Should have been a 3-part episode.
Yeah. So weird.
Oh, there's a really crass joke you made in there somewhere about the demon's head. But
I was gonna go with Talia has a very big fetish where she has to dye her hair gray.
She has the temples too.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else they could have done in a 2-parter. Maybe have because I mean the hard part with having this be a 2-parter is all the stories that we'd want to continue to see would revolve around Bruce going back to Gotham.
Yeah.
And they could do that where he goes back, he does fight crime once, remembers the joy of it, and then feels the re-aging process happening. And so then it kind of turns into a drug episode of like, now I'm dependent on the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
And so then he goes back, and then that's when Talia knew he was going to come back, and then you have the whole setup of like, okay, you're back, now I'm going to lock you up, and now it's... it could have been like a confirmation for her that it's working on him. I don't know. There's something they could have done there.
What if they hadn't done the twist of Roz being inside Talia's body, and what if he had actually been there and it was actually Talia? Like, what if she had gone to all this length to set up Bruce to be like used as a human puppet, whatever, for Roz. Like,
I think it would have been a little too similar to like the Bane episode, where it's just the old villain is just old.
Yeah, and I guess they already do. Oh, didn't they try and put Roz inside Superman's body at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Right?
There was definitely an episode with Roz and Superman. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the Demon's.
No, the Demon's Quest was. No, the Demon's Head was the. No, Demon's Quest was a 2-parter.
The Demon Reborn.
Yeah, that
was the Superman episode where they tried. Yeah. Oh no, they siphon.
I think we had a guess on that episode.
they siphon. That's right. They're trying to siphon Superman's life force to go into Roz's body. That's right. See, sometimes these things make sense.
So in the end, the pit blows up. Talia presumably blows up with it. There was a sword fight, and I really wish that the bat suit had some kind of sharp weapon because I wanted another sword fight.
Yeah.
Even if Terry would lose immediately.
Well, first he'd have to lose his shirt.
It gets cut.
Per the rules of engagement when fighting with Roz.
Yes.
Cowl on,
no shirt.
But I mean, she couldn't be topless because it's still a kid's show.
Sports bra.
Yeah. Unless it's Roz's body.
Yeah.
Roz's body with some like strategic padding in places to give the illusion.
Yeah. Because, male nips, totally fine.
Totally fine. Also, I do want to reiterate this whole point here. like if Roz and Bruce had hooked up, that would actually make sense. Because I'm sorry, if you're immortal, you better be pansexual.
Oh yeah.
Like if you can live, if you can live for that long, you're gonna fuck everything. Like I saw someone it was like on Instagram saying that they don't believe whenever there's a straight vampire in a piece of fiction because what vampire wouldn't fuck everybody and everything? Mm-hmm. If you live forever, you're gonna do it all.
Yeah. You're not gonna choose what blood you suck.
Yeah, you're gonna suck everything.
Yeah.
And everybody. I'm alone on this one.
No, I get it. Yeah, I totally back that up.
Yeah. God, I mean, we have one life to live, but if that life is going to go on forever, just enjoy it all.
Yeah.
It's just a smorgasbord.
So thanks
for listening
explodes. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode.
And the big line at the end. Very important line, I thought.
Which one?
When you going out?
Huh?
Sorry,
no, when Terry's like, I could go back and sit, and Bruce is like, whatever's
in there died years ago.
It was in there, died years ago, which was I had to chew on for a little while. What did you guys think he meant by that?
Well, I think it relates to both characters. It's Talia is not there.
Correct.
The one he would want to save is dead.
Correct.
And the one he wouldn't want to save,
should have died
years ago.
Ages
and also the length that he went to stay alive are so unnatural.
That's right.
That he, in his eyes, he's been, in Bruce's eyes, Roz has been dead since 2009.
Or way earlier.
Or
the first time. Yeah, I think it lines up with one line where he says it's unnatural, and that's why he's okay with death, even if he had the chance of letting him die, because it does go against nature. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think in that case, he's willing to let somebody die.
And I don't think
which is heavy.
Yeah.
Which is heavy.
I don't think.
Well, Terry does it all the time.
Yeah, Terry lets everyone die.
Yeah.
For Bruce,
including poor Carl.
It's not that he fears death. It's he fears being unhelpful.
So who?
Bruce. Did I say Terry? I remember.
No, you said Bruce. Yes. Okay. Yeah, he doesn't fear death. He fears not living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's just the biggest difference between him and Roz.
But there's definitely a subtextual element to that comment, because it's not just that Talia died in there. It's not just that Roz died in there, but it's also the chance of Bruce getting his youth back and getting to relive his former self. That's him also acknowledging that part of him died a long time ago. That part of him is gone. It's not coming back. And it's kind of him accepting age by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
That's good.
See? Paul Dini. Great writer.
He's great.
Knows his shit. Vasilios, why don't we start off with you? What do you have to plug this week? What have you been watching, listening, reading to, enjoying, imbibing any of these things?
Not a ton. I work a lot and I'm planning a wedding.
Those are very time-consuming things.
But
any good wedding-related plugs for those who are in a similar position?
Let me just plug weddings. Let me plug not getting married. Planning a wedding.
Everyone's favorite part of a wedding, all of the stuff that happens beforehand.
Did I tell you I wrote a groomsman magazine when I was in college?
You wrote...
Sorry, what?
When I was in college, I wrote and designed a groomsman magazine.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
What was in it? Wait, what? What?
It was called Dapper.
Fits.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is real. Is this a real magazine or is it just for a project?
It was for a project.
Got it.
But I didn't realize we didn't have to write the articles ourselves, but I did.
Okay.
It was our first group project, and I was the creative lead for our group. And we had to write, 5 mini articles and 2 kind of main components for a make it like a real magazine. Had to design all the ads for it, all the graphics for it, and everything.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I gave it to my my cousin who was getting married when I was working on it, and she was planning a wedding, and her fiance was not helping very much, and so it was for him.
That's nice of you.
Yeah.
I try and do whatever I do. I try and do whatever I can to help. But my new job has made me a public transit a bus dweller, so I've had a lot more time to read. So I actually have been reading.
What have you been reading?
And I've got to plug some Tolkien. This is a Tolkien that I had forgotten that I'd read a long time ago. It's a short story called Smith of Wootton Major. Chris, I'll give that to you.
Okay, thank you. I was like, oh, Jesus.
It's a short story. It's called Smith of Wootton Major. If you like kind of the themes and images and feelings of Lord of the Rings, but you want it boiled down, this is something that really boils it down. It's like the kinds of characters, the kinds of themes, the feel of Lord of the Rings, but in a previous version, in a condensed, boiled down little package. It's a really great story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can find it in like various. I'm reading it. I'm reading it as part of a collection called the Tolkien Miscellany, but it's in various like Tolkien collections and stuff. Yeah, it's great.
So, Vasilios, I have a confession.
You did not finish The Hobbit.
I did finish The Hobbit.
You did finish The Hobbit. I remember when you said, I'm going to read The Hobbit.
It took me 2 months to get through The Hobbit.
Wow.
You just didn't want to keep picking it up?
Nope.
Even I read The Hobbit.
I gotta admit, it was a bit of a slog.
You think it was a slog?
A little bit. I will say that I was surprised how contemporary the prose was, because sometimes you go back to those early stuff, like even old, like Doyle in terms of Sherlock Holmes, or like Jules Verne, some of the stuff you go back and it's like the prose is kind of there. But it just was a little boring.
It's not your. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it was boring, in my opinion.
Fighting words.
But it is definitely not your traditional like story structure. I don't know. I think it's great.
I enjoyed it.
What I did find was interesting is that Tolkien does the exact opposite of J.K. Rowling. She like saves all of her plot to the very end. Tolkien decides to jettison it at the last minute and not have an ending.
Well, thematically, the ending is more thematic. It's almost like it's not so plot driven as it is thematic. I mean, you got to have a big battle,
which doesn't happen on page at all.
Not really. It gets kind of knocked out for most of it.
Yeah,
it gets knocked out for most of it. But no, I think I don't know. I think the character. I think it's. You're right. It's for Tolkien. It's pretty informally written, but it's still beautifully written. Would you say that like the writing is that you enjoy the writing of it, or did you not enjoy the actual like plot of it?
There were times that I was enjoying it, and part of it too is I have seen the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh boy!
So I basically knew what was going to happen going through it, and this might even be more so blasphemous, but I thought they did a good job adding some things in the movies in terms of basically just building action scenes out of places where nothing happens. Like, I love the water barrel chase in the second movie. I liked they actually fleshed out the Battle of Five Armies, even though it's done terribly. And they completely wasted Billy Connolly, which was the only moment of excitement in that entire movie for me was I heard his voice. And then he was this horrible CGI weird dwarf on a hog thing.
Yeah. That was really weird.
I thought they did a good job in the movie of expanding the part where the dwarves are actually inside the mountain interacting with Smaug, because basically they go in, none of the dwarves interact with Schmag. It's just Bilbo who like has a quick little chat with him, and then Smaug gets pissed off and flies off and then gets killed by a character that was introduced 5 pages earlier. So I liked they fleshed out a little bit more Bard, especially because it's played by Luke Evans, who is fantastic.
Right.
I liked the action sequences they built around them inside the inside the mountain and like restarting the furnace and stuff and actually having them interact with the dragon. So I thought there were times when they added stuff in the movie that was to its benefit. The whole love story with what's her bucket and what's his bucket, with Killy, the hot one. Aiden Turner. Speaking of Aidens, that sort of stuff wasn't necessary.
Yeah,
but
he definitely Tolkien definitely plays by his own rules. He doesn't like follow like traditional a plot structure or give attention to character development that we think that generally most people think is necessary. He definitely plays for his own by his own rules. But if you zoom out and you focus on the actual journey of Bilbo through the movie, you do see like the growth and the evolution.
Like I liked his arc.
Yeah, his arc, and then I think there's just like that very subtle like smirk that's on Tolkien's face as he's writing, as you're reading. I really, really love.
Mm-hmm. He does have a very heavy reliance on Deus Ex Machina, though.
Well, it with Bard and with Gandalf always popping up. At the last minute.
Pops up whenever he needs to. But like, also,
I think Gandalf is hilarious in The Hobbit. He is not like super nice and friendly. He's kind of like an old codger, and that's what Gandalf does. He disappears and he appears at the right moment. That's just who he is.
If it were just Gandalf, it would just be Gandalf. But it's Gandalf. It's the hawks twice.
They're eagles.
The pigeons.
I don't think you actually read this book.
The pigeons twice.
Did you just read a summary on Wikipedia?
The goblins show up just out of the blue for no reason, basically, at the end. Like, they didn't establish at all their presence from, like, the beginning until the end of the book. They just, like, show up in the end, like, oh, my God, there's goblins here, too. Oh, thank God they showed up. Now we all have a villain. We can, like, unite and fight together rather than fighting each other.
Well, just because we weren't with the goblins through the whole time doesn't mean that like there was that inciting incident with the goblins, and then it just evolved. They evolved on their plans evolved on their own, and they show up at the end
again. Thus, the use of Deus Ex Machina, which is basically an event happens without having been set up at all by the writer.
Been set up. It was set up in the Goblin Cave with Bilbo and the dwarves. It was set up. It was set up. Cameron was set up.
Because I've been intending for years to tend to read these, and I read it, and I'm like, I can probably skip reading The Lord of the Rings.
If you don't like The Hobbit, I definitely don't think you would like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You would like Lord of the Rings.
Wait, what?
I don't think that you would like Lord of the Rings if you didn't like The Hobbit.
Yeah, I did not. No.
Yeah.
I was like, at a certain point, I was just stubborn. Like, I'm going to finish this fucking book, but I was not particularly glad about it.
But if you wanna get the feel of Lord of the Rings in a very small package, read Smith of Wooten Major.
I doubt I will, but thank you.
Yeah.
Did you ever read Earthsea?
Huh?
Did you ever read Earthsea?
I read one book of Earthsea in I think it was just called A Wizard of Earthsea.
Yeah, that's the first one.
The first one, yeah. I read that in college for my magic lessons class,
Ooh.
which was a class on fantasy literature.
Wait, that's awesome. I'd love to take that class.
Yeah, it was a great class. It was hard. It was like a real literature class, but it was good.
Yeah, because I mean that's one of the things I love discussing, as you hear me say multiple times on this, is power struggle and kind of the idea of a power system created through magic. How do you make it not overwhelming and not also seem infinite?
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did a whole episode about Hobbit politics on my podcast
on Tolkien Takeaway.
On Tolkien Takeaway, about politics in The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should listen to that.
I am desperate for more Tolkien after reading The Hobbit. But no.
What are you, Chris? What are you plugging this week?
Ironically, one of my plugs is "Won't You Be My Neighbor," which is all about acceptance and kindness.
Clearly, that message stuck with him
It did not settle in at all. No, I finally watched "Won't You Be My Neighbor." It is
great.
I'm surprised it took you this long. It's amazing.
Oh no, I didn't see it in theaters. Yeah, I finally set out to watch it this week in basically like 2 parts, and it's really, really good. Like his story is super interesting, and it's just very, very sweet and warm. And especially by the time I was getting to the end of it, I was just like sitting on my couch by myself crying.
Yeah.
Which I've also discovered that when I cry during movies, it's like bro tears. It only comes out of the left side of my face. Like only my left eye cries, and it's like one at a time.
And your face is like completely still.
Yeah, like otherwise you would not notice any sort of change.
Yeah.
It's just my normal like frown,
yeah.
my default look of indignation, but just like one tear slowly dripping down at a time.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, they're making the same way they did RGB and RGB and Battle of the Sexes.
On the basis of sex.
On the basis of sex.
Yes.
Sorry, not the
on the battlefield of the sexes.
Well, no, the Battle of the Sexes was a tennis movie.
Yes,
Love is a battlefield of the sexes.
Yes, because they're doing a
Mr. Rogers movie
with Tom Hanks.
Yes,
yeah.
Perfect casting if I've ever heard it in my entire life. But no, it's a great documentary. I recommend seeing it. I also watched Us, the new Jordan Peele movie. which is, I know neither of you have seen it. I know Cameron won't.
I will not see it.
I'll probably see it just because I loved Get Out so much.
Yeah. It is.
I don't do well with horror.
Neither do I.
Yeah, right.
That's why I'm not watching it.
Like, what I will say is I'm not a horror person either. I'm starting to get into horror.
But you're a good movie person.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I am interested in movies, regardless of their genre, that are really well made.
Sure.
And there are definitely horror films that are great, who like they're so good that they kind of surpass their own genre in terms of quality.
Sure.
And so I really loved Get Out, and I did really, really enjoy this. Like, it's definitely made by a master filmmaker. The performances, the visuals, the music, the tone is great. It's surprisingly funny.
Yeah, that
It's actually
surprise me, actually.
it's really funny. Winston Duke, who most people know as M'Baku, the rival tribe leader from Black Panther, is as the dad, and he's just like dad jokes galore through the whole thing, which is my soft spot of comedy. And Lupita Nyong'o is amazing. Everyone's really, really good in it. The story didn't quite work for me, is kind of the one thing I will say. But I think it's still like really, really good, and I do recommend people go see it. And even if you're not a horror person,
Yeah.
I think it spends a surprising amount of time outside of that genre trope to still be really, really good. When it's horror, it's really good horror, but it's much more than just that. So if you are reticent to see horror films, I think it's still worth your time. Cameron?
I mean, I'll probably watch it when it comes out when it's released
It's released.
on DVD. Sorry.
No, go see it. It's better in theaters.
I need comfort of my own. I need the ability to pause it when I'm done.
See, I disagree with that. I
Yeah,
think
you can't do that for
Yeah,
movies.
I think movies that are especially grounded in tension, really you have to see when you can't be interrupted. Other movies that are really tense or movies that are really boring, see them in a theater so you can't pause and get up and leave.
I'm not gonna have a silence effect again.
We're just going to watch it all together with Cameron. It's going to be like 2000, not 2001. What's the other one?
Clockwork Orange.
Like Clockwork Orange style.
Force his eyes open.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, it's not happening.
It's yeah, it's good. Go and see it.
Okay.
So
Sure.
yeah, that's me this week.
Okay.
What about you?
I'll plug Dropout because I didn't really watch a lot this week. Dropout is a great streaming service done by College Humor, where they have kind of weekly shorts that they put out every now and then. The game show that I consistently talk about, I'm Actually, is on there. Have I talked to you about I'm Actually?
Yeah.
Okay, it's great.
Yeah.
They have a new one called The Break Room, I think is what it's called, where it's just it's run by one of the College Humor's writers, and she brings in 3 comedians and just asks them, like, it's supposed to be like a joke philosophy room, which she asks them just a random question of, what is so the first one is like, what is the best invention that hasn't been invented yet? And then it's them kind of arguing. They come in prepared. They all pick 2 inventions.
Yeah.
And it's them kind of be like, okay, the best invention that hasn't been invented yet is the heated glove box for when I want takeout and I don't want it to get cold in that 4-minute drive between the restaurant and my house.
Makes all the difference when it comes to French fries.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
they make a whole
really,
point
it
about
really
that.
does,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. That is genius.
Yeah, it's really fun. And so
Get on it, Ford.
the one this week was
Tesla?
Yeah.
Yes. Especially you, Tesla.
The one this week was what is the
Can you drive down the road or can you keep your french fries warm? You pick.
the one this week was what is the coolest accidental death?
What was the answer?
And so they all pitched 2 ideas.
Okay.
The one that I enjoyed the most was scuba diving fire. It's a very outlandish idea, but the idea is there's a forest fire going on, and it's the plane that comes and like picks up all the water to go put out on the fire. When they pick up the water, there's a person scuba diving, not realizing there's
That's an old Snopes.
Yeah.
Thing.
This sounds like a plot of a CSI Miami episode.
yeah.
Or like an NCIS. When you're in like your 12th season and you desperately need ideas. Actually, I'm pretty sure this was an episode of NCIS.
Okay. Well, it's very funny. They have that show. They have this amazing competition show called Total Forgiveness, where it's two of the writers have a lot of college debt, and so they're challenging each other to do tasks completely out of their comfort zone. If they do it, the company is paying off part of their college debt.
Jeez.
And so some of it has been like one of the girls is deathly afraid of snakes, and so in the middle of the night, the guy Grant was going to show up at her apartment with a snake, and she had to stay in bed with it for 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Not telling her what kind of snake it was. So he showed up with an anaconda. A trained snake. Uh-huh. But yeah, it's very...
I don't know how well you can train a snake.
Exactly.
Okay.
They'll still kill you. Also, by the way, season 2, episode 5 of CSI, the original.
Okay.
Episode entitled Scuba Dooby Doo.
Amazing.
And it's about them coming across a scuba diver in a tree, dead in a tree. Also, you're right. The top link was a Snopes article about this.
Not true, right? Not true.
Let's see. Claim here. The charred remains of a scuba diver were discovered in a tree after a forest fire. False.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, one super last plug for Dropout. For the history nerds, they have a show every Monday called What the Fuck 101, where it's a Magic School Bus style show, animated show, where the teacher brings them to just the most bizarre points in history, explaining how dumb everyone is. And so the one like, last week was about, and there's a theme. Mm-hmm. So one last week was all about partying. And it was like a 14th century king wanted to surprise the queen at her birthday party. And so him and his knights dressed in like straw outfits to try and look like not crazy people, like kind of like aliens.
Yeah.
A very flammable straw ran inside the party and they all caught on fire.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good accidental way to die, actually. Yeah. A little crossover mojo there.
There was a ship. Again, it was like 14th, 15th century. There was a boating captain who requested to have the prince and all of his friends on his boat. I don't remember where they're probably talking like to India. And everyone got drunk before they took off. And before the king could board, they took off anyway and immediately crashed. And everyone on board died.
Yes. Fantastic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's rumors that the captain didn't die, but just drowned himself because
out of shame,
what he did,
rather than face the consequences of his actions. All right, I think it's time for us to be done.
I think it's fine
at this point now. Vasilios, where can people find you if you want them to do so? And do you have anything you want to plug? Any self-related things to plug? Podcasts, whatnot?
Yeah, there's actually so I'll give you guys 3 guesses as to where we're going for our honeymoon.
Oh, I already know. Unless it's changed since the last time we talked.
Middle Earth?
Yeah.
Right on.
We are.
Yeah, flights are real cheap these days.
We're going to New Zealand.
That's
for
awesome.
Our honeymoon. Yeah. So there are some plans in the works to resurrect Tolkien Takeaway, my beloved podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I've only done 6 episodes, and I've taken a very long hiatus, always with the intention of coming back when I have more time and I'm more suited to do so, and life aligns a little bit more with it. So I'm really excited to start to get that back on track with some little special features from New Zealand.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So it's name of the podcast is Tolkien Takeaway. You can find it on SoundCloud and iTunes, and I'm on Twitter at Tolkien Takeaway and on Facebook at Tolkien Takeaway.
You can find me if you want to see my art. You can find that at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram. And I also have my other podcast, of course, Gay It Forward. All that's in the show notes below because I can never remember my actual handles.
Perfect.
And then, of course, we as a collective podcast are at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. If you also think I'm a monster for hating The Hobbit,
yeah,
write in and tell me as such.
Monster.
Or your ideas of the Hanna-Barbera multiverse.
Yes, but send those just to Cameron. I don't need to hear that shit.
Yeah. Or just use the Instagram, because sometimes I read the Instagram messages.
It's true. Occasionally he does some work outside of the podcast. But thank you, as always, for listening. And Vasilios, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you for your first time being on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. Never had you on before.
Guys,
real pleasure.
Congrats. I'm really, really proud of you guys for clearing 100 episodes.
Thank you.
Nobody thought that you would do it.
We didn't.
Nobody thought that you would
us.
do it well. But no, I truly get a lot of enjoyment out of listening and coming on this journey with you guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate
I'm really
that.
proud of you guys. So thank you for everything that you guys.
Yeah, we mostly just do it out of force of habit at this point, to be honest. It's more work to stop.
Don't ruin it.
For
Don't
socialization.
Don't ruin it for me. Don't ruin it for me.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And thank you, everyone else, for listening as well.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.